Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are.
Welcome to episode 55 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Paris, and this is Chris.
Hello.
So if this is your first time listening to the show, just a quick review of what we do here is we read books that we assume will be bad. So this is the opposite of what most people do. Most people pick up books that they think will be good and read them as such. We read books we think will be bad. So we force ourselves to slog through these things. Sometimes we're, pleasantly surprised. Most of the time, the books are just as terrible as we think they will be. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened this time, Chris. Pretty sure.
Yep. I'm on that. Well, I mean...
You know what? No. All right. We'll leave it. We'll leave it for now. But so this time, we were subjected to a patron request. So one of our patrons called in our debt to them. This is Greg's choice. So thank you, Greg, for being a patron. We hope you enjoy this episode. Greg suggested we read The Adventures of Lord Iffy Boatrace by Bruce Dickinson, the lead singer of Iron Maiden.
Yeah, that one. That Bruce
also,
Dickinson.
I kind of want to produce. No one should produce.
You want to make the movie
anything.
of it? Is that,
no.
Paris producing the film adaptation. This would not be a film. This would be like a Skinamax thing, maybe.
Oh
like
God, I hope this. I was trying to say pronounce instead of produce. So first of all, I do not want to produce this into anything. But I always want to say, instead of Lord Iffy Boatrace, I want to say Lord Iffy Boatrace, like as though it's like a fancy name, because I think that's what it's supposed to be.
He is a fancy boy, and this book is extremely British.
Yeah. So before we begin. There's a fuckload of content warnings. So, all right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So you have our typical barnyard
language. Look, guys,
language.
It's basically a porno.
Yeah.
Just going to say.
But, like, it's a porno. Like, so imagine porn, but then add, like, more sexist stereotypes than are even usually in porn, and also a bunch of racist stereotypes and bad portrayals of trans people. We got all that in there. Oh, and murder. So imagine that, all those things. So if any of those things sound like a problem for you, please exit now. We don't want to make anyone listen to anything that makes them really uncomfortable. So, this episode is going to be raunchy as fuck. So get the hell out of here if you don't want to hear about any of that.
There's no way it can't be, man.
Yeah, oh man. And
the level of penis mentions per page, PPP, actually.
No, I don't even...
is very high.
I was going to say, I don't even have a problem with that. It's honestly all the racist shit that makes me really uncomfortable in this. Like, the sex stuff is whatever, because it's obviously meant to be kind of a shocking book, but the racist stuff really gets me. Anyway, so all that being said, let's read the back of the book. So I'll go ahead and do that. So this is the summary. When the ancestral fortune dries up, there's only one solution for Lord Iffy Boatrace, destitute transvestite Laird of Findanan and his faithful butler, a wheeze to squeeze every last drop of cash out of those old school chums who'd done everything they could to forget him. Come in, Brian Taylor and your voluptuous, insatiable wife, yucky, yuppie, perfect couple Mark and Cynthia, bumbling beefcake bozo Roderick Mort de Arthur Tennyson, upper-class twits, the lot of them, ripe for the picking, and drawn by the short and curlies to Findinan Hall. First of all, I barely understood the summary when I read it.
Yeah, that's me as well.
Like Chris said, this book is fucking British as fuck, and like there's a lot of
aggressively British. There
are a lot of terms that I didn't understand.
Everything's a crumpo or like a bomb diddly or like a wheeze to squeeze.
Yeah,
like, what is it?
also, the use of the word transvestite in the summary is like in itself, dates this book. I know that some people are okay.
It's from 1990, so.
Oh yeah, that's true. I know some people are okay with identifying as that, but like typically that is kind of a slur, right? That's like not an okay thing to say for most people.
I think. Yeah. In general, yes.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I know some people are cool with that. Like, I think, anyway, we don't need to really get into that, but, probably not the best word to include in your summary, but it was 1990 or whatever.
Also, what is a laird? Is that just lord, but spelled weird?
I think so. I actually meant to look that up and forgot. So, hey, anyone out there knows anything about Scottish nobles? The fuck is laird? Is it lord? I assumed it was lord as well, but anyway. So yeah, we can talk about just the basic plot. So we've got Lord Iffy, who is this kind of washed up nobleman. Like, he's from a super wealthy family. He has this big mansion, but he's run out of money because he's lived his life to excess. So he is he has a bunch of cars and fancy clothes. He really likes high heels and fancy pantyhose and things like that. So he's kind of run through his fortune. The rest of his family is all gone. Like, his parents are dead. He doesn't have any distant relatives. He has a brother that like disappeared or something. And it's mostly just him and his butler. And he decides that the best way to generate income is to trick his shitty school friends from fancy pants high school to...
Were they friends?
No, I think they just all went to school together, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really mention anything about them like knowing each other that much beforehand,
right? Which made it even weirder, right? So this is like, so he sends these invitations out to people he thinks are like dumb enough to fall for this scheme. And the scheme is really dumb. It's like,
I don't even know what the scheme is.
Okay, so the scheme is that he wants to trick these stupid friends of his into shooting grouse on his estate, like paying to go and shoot animals in his estate, which I guess is a thing. But the trick is that the grouse are mechanical, and so they never really die. So the plan is to like keep tricking them into shooting the same grouse over and over again. It's not a great plan, and that's the whole point. Like, this whole book is written to be stupid, right? To be silly. And so that's the whole thing, I guess, right? Is to just trick them into, and to tell all their friends, like, oh, we had such great grouse hunting. And I guess the idea is they're going to make money because they're not going to have to replenish the grouse. But like, are you ever really replenishing animals to murder? Aren't you just like going in the woods and murdering those animals? Like, I don't know.
He didn't take any money from them when they first showed up. He presented it as like a dinner party invite, and then pulled out the whole grouse hunting thing at the dinner party. Yeah, it wasn't like on the invitation.
Right. And I think the whole point here is that he's also incredibly dumb and forgets to tie up all these loose ends, because he's always kind of changing his mind about how he feels about things. And so they invite these three dudes and their respective partners to come to the estate for this, grand affair or whatever, and they all come, and there's a bunch of hijinks, and eventually some people end up dead, and I don't know, like right at the end there's this real tacked on thing where they're like, oh, by the way, there's treasure under the house, and his brother, who we thought was gone, is actually here, and haha, he's tricked everyone and stole the treasure. And you're just like, where did that come from?
Also, why did the brother have to trick anyone and get involved?
He didn't. Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of it.
The whole book is basically an excuse to put three porno couples together in the same book, and like weird shit happens between them. And then also the butler's weird, and he's got a weird fuck machine in the basement.
Yeah, the whole book is extremely over the top in every way. Everyone is a stereotype. Anyone who is racist is like so obviously racist. They say racial like epithets, and I think on page 3, Lord Iffy goes into this weird screed against Asian people and says some very offensive things that I don't feel I need to repeat.
That's quickly
also
brought up.
And then, like maybe on page 15 or 20, one of the women in the book is lusting after a black Rastafarian man on the train. And that gets really, that whole thing made me feel just awful. I was like, I don't want to read this. This is horrible. Like, it just felt so gross. Like, I
don't think the book is supposed to make you feel clean at all. It's definitely a dirty book. It's supposed to be like,
and I guess sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say that, like, let's just get this out of the way here. Bruce Dickinson is mad horny, I guess.
Yeah, I was really surprised.
Second of this.
I was surprised by how fucking raunchy this was. Like, I knew, because our patron Greg, who actually lent us his original copy of the book, so we have a legit, like, 1990 first pressing of this nonsense. He was like, oh yeah, because I guess when he bought it, he was a kid and, just loved Iron Maiden and was like, oh, Bruce Dickinson wrote a book. And I feel like that's the reaction a lot of people would have. Like, oh man, Bruce Dickinson, this man who writes these, really decent lyrics and stuff. Like, he wrote a book,
can we take like a quick aside, just for a second, a quick aside to say Bruce Dickinson, true Renaissance man. Like, totally, he's good at a lot of stuff. He's good at singing in Iron Maiden. He's apparently a really good plane pilot, as I guess airline pilot.
Yeah.
He has his own beer that he made. He's a radio presenter and documentary presenter, a competitive fencer. I don't know how good his films are, but he made some of those.
Oh, I'm sure we're going to find out on the Patreon, Chris, won't we?
Yeah. But so he's not like a bad artist or like bad at stuff that he does. So it's kind of not unreasonable to go like, hey, maybe he's okay at writing a parody satire.
And you know what? And what's interesting about this book is that I think it's terrible, but the writing itself was actually good in a lot of ways. Like, I guess it's hard to explain. I can, Chris, you're the one who has the book. Unfortunately, I didn't take any pictures of it or anything, but the way sentences are constructed, pretty good. Some of his descriptions, pretty good. Like, I feel like
there's funny parts.
Yeah,
too.
and I think that his writing has so much potential, but it was like fucking wasted on this horse shit. Like, I don't know why this is the choice he made, right? Like, that's my question for Bruce is, you're
he's
this
horny.
I don't know, man. Like, well, and this book was written on the Somewhere on Tour, which, coincided with the Somewhere in Time album. If no one knows anything about Iron Maiden, they're obviously like a very prolific, long-standing heavy metal band. And, like Chris was saying, Bruce Dickinson is a pilot. He actually flies the plane that the band like tours on and travels on. So he is the pilot.
Force One.
Ed Force One, yeah. And Eddie is their mascot. He's like this monstrous creature that an artist created for them, and he's just been kind of the mascot for the band forever. And when they perform live, Eddie will appear as like this, sometimes as like this giant animatronic thing, or like a person in a giant costume. So anyway, that's the Ed Force One thing. And that's also why there's a character named Eddie in here who is described in very freakish ways, because he's supposed to be he's supposed to be Eddie.
Yeah, it's literally just an Eddie cameo, right?
Yeah, it was dumb. So, yeah, this book was written across various hotel rooms while he was on the Somewhere on Tour.
He makes a mention in the acknowledgments of, like, asking for hotel stationery from a bunch of hotels, which is, like, a real moocher-ass way to write a novel, like, outsourcing the paper costs.
Yeah, like, Iron Maiden is such a successful band, and even in 87, they were already incredibly successful and wealthy. So, yeah, it seems extra shitty to be like, I need to borrow some paper to write this book. But...
Do you like the part about the girl with huge tits? Because believe me, that's all he writes about.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's very over the top, and I know that was sort of the point. But my whole question here is like, this humor doesn't work. Like, there's something it veers into total cringe territory rather than funny, and I mean, and some of it is due to the fact that you've got a straight white dude writing about these things that he doesn't have perspective on, like, like how Jamaican people talk, which was a horrible passage to read. That was not a cool accent to throw in there. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't want to say that writers can't write things realistically. Of course, we want books to be realistic, and this is also a comedy. But at some point, you know, you have to stop yourself and say, like, okay, what's a reasonable way to present this where people will understand that this man has a Jamaican accent, but I don't have to write his speech in an inherently racist way, right? Like, you have to make that decision. And I feel like every time he had to make that decision about something, he made the wrong one. You know, even when it comes to women, like the female characters, I mean, the male and female characters are all horrible. Although I do feel like the female characters kind of get, I feel like they're kind of the butt of more of the jokes.
They don't get the short end of the stick for sure, because they definitely get the long end of many sticks, because every female in this book has a thirst for dick that is unrelenting.
Oh yeah, unrelenting. Mm-hmm. And one of the characters, Margot, she's, I guess, I'm just going to say this because people are going to understand what I mean when I say it, and I'm not going to say that I endorse the stereotype or have anything else to say about it, but you know when people talk about feminazis, well, that's what Margot is supposed to be. She's like this overbearing, absurdist feminist, you know, to the point where like no real person is like this, right? Where she's like,
she's browbeating of her husband, super controlling, supposedly unattractive to like an extreme level. Basically always having something to complain about or whine about or, you know, browbeat others with.
She's telling all the characters, oh, this is sexist, or this, you're racist, this is sexist, and like physically hurting them when they do something that she doesn't agree with. And yeah, she has this crazy dildo vibrator contraption, and she basically tells her husband, like, you go over there, I need 5 minutes with my machine, and she just like I don't know, like brute forces her way through an orgasm in 5 minutes on this thing, and that's just like taken as that's just what she does because she's a real woman and she needs it now or something. Like I don't know.
But she also tells him, don't jerk off so I could get the full load later, which is
Jesus Christ.
So like even like the hyper feminist to the extreme character just needs a good dicking every once in a while.
Right. And honestly isn't like, that's kind of a, I don't know. I felt like that. I was like, yeah, okay, I get you're making the joke that, you know, being really feminist is, I don't know. I have problems with all of the things in this book.
You can't even really just apply it to her because that's every female lady in the book. That's all of them, all three of them.
Like even the dumb huge titty one is also like that. She just
Letitia Paris, please.
Letitia or Lucrezia? Is her name Lucrezia or Letitia? I can't even remember.
It's Letitia as an Laetitia. I
mean, that's just how you spell the name Letitia, Chris.
Oh, I thought, well.
He didn't just put tit into a word, though. I mean, it's a good theory.
But that's why you choose that name.
Maybe.
That's 100% why you choose that name.
Right. But the characters are unrealistic in other ways. In addition to being incredibly overly sexual, overly racist, one of the characters, no one talks like a person. Like, she's at the train station. I think this was Cynthia. I don't remember. And she asked someone, where does one go pee-pees?
Oh, yeah.
And she's an adult woman. I assume in her 30s or 40s. I'm not totally sure, but she's an adult woman. And I thought that was like a really strange choice. I didn't understand why that was the way that she spoke. And yeah, my whole problem with this entire thing is like, Bruce isn't doing anything with these caricatures, right? He's just putting them out there and pointing at them and saying, oh, aren't these ridiculous? And it's like, yeah, but yeah, and like there's nothing after that, you know. And this is a similar problem we had in
I think
the
he's
Texas
just trying
book.
to write absurdist erotica. That's what this is, right? He's just trying to write like absurdist jerk off material.
But no, this isn't meant to jerk off to. No one is sitting here jerking off to this. I hope.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
No, I don't think that this is supposed to be jerk off material. This is supposed to be a farce, a comedy. This is not supposed to be something that you actually get off to. Chris, do you have something to tell us?
No, well, okay. Listen, in my opinion, like, if you're trying to write basically a porno, your characters should be super over the top and ridiculous, because the whole situation is usually, like, if you try to, like, produce something like that that's not just you actually filming two people being intimate on their own without any setup or anything. If you're trying to introduce plot into it, it should be kind of absurdist.
All right,
right?
so you're saying it's either got to be amateur or absurdist. That's what we're getting at.
Amateur.
Right?
Well,
that's what you're saying, right? Like real people.
Do we really have to get into my like porno opinions?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, this is the episode for it, Chris. Like, I'm sorry,
I suppose
but
you're right. I suppose you're right.
Yeah,
but like it's. If you're trying to introduce plot to porn and everyone's fucking all the time, of course they're going to be hypersexual. So maybe they should be these absurdist hypersexual characters that are insatiable and have all the energy and everything. I haven't really thought this through all the way, Cass. I can't say my brain's turned on all the time.
Well, so my case for why I don't think this is this is like a jerk off pamphlet or whatever. Like, I don't think this is intended to actually be erotica is because why would he go to such lengths to make the characters so terrible and so racist and horrible and classist? Like, who wants to jerk off to that? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure somebody does, but it doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense, right? Should you make characters relatable in porn and erotica? I think yes, right? Because you either want to fuck them or you want to watch those people fucking. You don't want to watch horrible assholes fucking, right? Like, you don't want to.
But if they have. But what if you're coming to the porn for like the ridiculous anatomy, like let's say huge inflating tits or a 15-inch dick? That's like the sensational aspect there, I think, is what was pushing me towards that opinion.
I don't know. I just don't think that. I don't know. But then again, the cesspool of porn and the vastness of what human beings are into sexually is incomprehensible to me. So perhaps this is just something I don't understand. But it doesn't seem to me like
the context around like porn actors doesn't really matter so much as what they look like, and you would be set like the point of this thing, in my opinion, again, which could not necessarily be exactly why Bruce wrote this, is you have those absurd hypersexual characters with their absurd hyper anatomy. It's probably going to turn some people on here or there.
But like, so I guess I have a larger question that reaches out from this book. Much like the 15-inch penis within its pages, reaching out at us.
We'll get to that a little bit in a minute.
Oh, God. But why do you think porn should be so unrealistic? I feel like I'm not saying all of it should. I am the opposite. I'm of the opposite opinion because I think that when porn has these unrealistic standards, like dudes with 15-inch dicks and women with like size M tits or whatever, that it creates these really unrealistic benchmarks that people then start to look for in their dating life and in their partners. And that's why we have a lot of that's one of the reasons that we have a lot of problems we do with, you're
right about that.
Like
but
beauty
I wasn't
standards
saying that the act, I'm saying if you're putting plot into your pornos, that's what should be absurd. Not the dimensions of the players or anything. And you don't even have to put that into your pornos. A nice, well-shot, scene of two people being intimate, it can stand on its own just fine with some good camera work and stuff like that. But if you're putting the plot into it, I'm not going to sit through like 15 to 20 minutes of serious plot to get to the fucking.
Oh,
so you might as well make it ridiculous.
No way. Yeah, no.
You might as well make it silly.
Nah, dude. Like, anybody sitting through more than I don't even know, a few minutes of plot seems like pointless to me.
It should be like a minute and absolutely stupid if you're going to go that direction.
Well, then that just fuels my theory further that this is not erotica, because this shit goes on for way too long.
But they're fucking like every 15 pages.
Yeah, but it's not sexy. Dude, like all of this made me uncomfortable. Every aspect
it's very uncomfortable. I'm just, look, I'm not saying I enjoy this as a porn jerk. I'm saying that I see why someone else would.
I don't, but all right, we should probably move on. We've been arguing about this for a few minutes. Stay tuned for our porn opinions. Oh boy. No, just kidding. Cool. We're not doing that. We're not telling you. No, that's awful. Right. No one should know those things.
I guess we should get into some of the ridiculous sex scenes that happen here. You already mentioned Margot and her crazy dildo machine, but that's not the only crazy dildo machine.
Well, that becomes part of the big crazy dildo machine.
Yeah,
yeah.
At some point, after Margot has used the machine, there's like a separate dildo portion that was separated from it, and Butler comes in possession of it, and he could use it to finally complete his work of genius that he was actually trying to bring up to Lord Iffy at the start of the book as like a cool investment that he might want to make, like a market he might want to get into.
Lord Iffy was too invested in his own idea because that's just how he is, because he's a shithead. And the butler was like, no, but I made this amazing fuck machine. And of Lord Iffy's like, oh, but the grouse shooting. And the butler's like, no, people like sex way more than grouse shooting. But, he just fades into the background because Lord Iffy is
anyway, dude's got he's been working on this machine in the basement for I don't know how long, even though he hasn't been paid in 4 months because Lord Iffy doesn't have any money anyway, but somehow he has the resources to get like a full engine thing going with like a small computer embedded, like a 90s computer that can like read angles of insertion and like propel itself in certain directions based on what it detects.
I was going to say, this butler has some pretty sick engineering knowledge to have put this fuck machine together.
But with all that, he didn't have the part to actually fuck with.
Yeah,
he didn't have the dildo yet.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like the main plot of Lord Iffy trying to trick these other rich people that he didn't really like, that he went to school with, into shooting grouse and paying for it or whatever. And then the butler is making the sex machine, and the butler is actually really hateful and is one of the only people that's like, wow, all these people suck shit. Like, all these people are terrible.
Yeah,
the butler's not great either, but yeah, sort of, but like he's also terrible. Because I feel like not telling people that they're being fucked by a machine is like borderline rape, right? Because they think they're either getting fucked by the
there's so much sexual assault that goes on in this book.
Well, yeah, and all the sexual assault is like a ha-ha joke, which is another thing that I didn't like about this book that I thought was kind of shitty. And I know better than many of, I would say I understand that sometimes the only way you can get through things is humor. I am somebody who employs that all the time in my life. Like, I feel like that's just how you get over stuff for some people. But I don't think that Bruce was working through anything. I feel like he's just like, oh, haha, isn't this prison rape scene fun? Oh, haha, isn't it so funny that this lady got fucked by a machine instead of the dude she thought she was fucking? And it's like, I don't know, that's not really funny to me. Like, making fun of prison rape and also rape by, what is that called? When it's almost like if somebody's a twin and they pretend to be the other one and they have sex with you. It's like, I can't remember, but it's... I
didn't realize there was a specific term for that. Aside
like rape by misidentity or whatever. Like you basically trick someone into thinking you're someone else.
The way it's presented, because this happens to Laetitia like once and also Cynthia a couple of times, but they're both like down with it, even though they figure out later after the fact that it wasn't the person they thought it was, because they're just such hyper sluts all the time that it doesn't really matter.
Right, but I don't know. I think the prison rape scene definitely made me the most uncomfortable, where the butler has a flashback and you find out that he was raped in prison by this cellmate or whatever, and it was like really gross. Also, a lot
that
of
also happens with Roderick. Like later on, he was like, there's like a quick flashback to a scene of sexual abuse before he fucking dies.
Oh right,
and it's just kind of played off as like, oh, this weird thing that happened to him that made him a weird guy, and that's why he's married to a feminist. Like what?
Yeah, and I just really don't like how we're conflating people who are open sexually with sexual assault, and like consent isn't even a thing. The consent is just thrown out the window and run over by a train. Like there's like this. I really don't like that. That is something that bothered me about this book a lot. And honestly, reading this makes me think a bit less of Bruce Dickinson, which is
Bruce Dickinson is never going to be the same for me ever again.
And I mean, I'm not like a crazy Maiden fan, but I know a lot of people who are. Like actually, our patron Greg, who chose this book for us to read, and like all the other dudes in my
fan. Yeah,
all the other dudes in my band are, and I just feel like reading this makes me feel just very weird. I mean, it's
for a second here, I want to make an aside that I was starting to read this in front of my girlfriend, and I was like, oh yeah, Bruce Dickinson wrote this, and she's like, who's Bruce Dickinson? So I got to introduce her to Iron Maiden for the first time.
Oh, really?
And she she was like kind of into Number of the Beast. She was like,
wow, you went
surprisingly
right to
into
Number
that.
of the Beast. Jeez. All right.
Yeah. Then I showed her Aces High, and she was like, "This is corny as fuck." Actually,
Oh, that's funny.
But she liked the other one, so I tried to explain to her who Bruce Dickinson was, like all the weird shit he's been up to and Ed does all the time.
Yeah, like, so I feel like right now, as a result of this book, I have a Bruce Dickinson on my left shoulder and a Bruce Dickinson on my right shoulder. And on the left shoulder, he's like the Bruce Dickinson who wrote this book. But on the right shoulder, he's the Bruce Dickinson flying sea turtles to safety. Like, I can't deal with this duality of Bruce Dickinson.
To be fair,
it's pretty fucked up.
I mean, despite the fact that I guess he's horny as fuck, it doesn't seem like he's a sex pest or anything like that, aside from writing stuff like this, which I guess he thinks is funny.
Well, that's my problem, right? That he thinks that these racist, sexist caricatures and rape are funny. Like, all of that is just disturbing to me, that he didn't have the presence of mind to be a bit more nuanced about it. Like, again, he's writing a humorous book. I don't know. And we also should talk about how, like, the 90s itself was just full of people trying to outshock each other, especially in terms of music and media. You know, we have the rise of David Lynch, Marilyn Manson, what's that radio fucker? What's his name?
Howard Stern,
thank you. You know, this was kind of
that radio fucker, which is going to be the name. That's his new podcast if you're on Sirius XM. That radio fucker with Howard Stern.
I think I'm biased because my only exposure to Howard Stern was as a very small child, seeing his show, like, you know, because they would record video of the radio recordings, right? And I just remember seeing a part of the show, and I was like, I don't like this. Like, I was a child, and first of all, never should have seen anything like that. But even as a little kid, I was like, I'm not into this. This is very disturbing to me.
I was super into the Howard Stern show for like 3 years.
What?
When I was like 13.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, I would listen to it like most mornings.
No. Oh, wow. All right, we're gonna have to do like a episode 55B just to get through.
Look, man, look, that shit. You know what this stuff appeals to the most? Teenage boys.
Yeah.
That's basically what this is aimed for, and what Howard Stern show probably appeals to the most. I was an Opie and Anthony fan for like a year before I realized exactly what I was listening to.
Oh boy, yeah. What is it? Opie and Anthony? Were they like Boston guys that did the same thing?
No. They were more New York, and they're always pulling heinous shit with homeless people, essentially. And, like, super Republican, obviously, and it wasn't a good show, and I was ashamed of my fandom after I really realized what I was listening to and what I was sort of laughing at.
Hey man, we all have shame in our past. As long as we move past it and no longer endorse those things, we're good. So
maybe Bruce Dickinson put this behind him or something, but like
I hope so. I mean, I have other issues with the book in general. Like, there are a lot of characters for such a short book. Somehow there are filler scenes, despite this being so short. Specifically, the numerous sex scenes and the train station taxi sequence just felt like a waste of 15 or 20 pages in a 150 page or 125 page book. I forget.
That was just to put Eddie in there because there's a guy who's master of disguise. Okay, so let's just do the reveal here, Paris, right? Because it throws this whole character into question.
I already mentioned it anyway, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Lord Iffy is helped to, like, the way he gets these mechanical grouses is that he knows this guy that is like
his neighbor,
master
the neighborhood
spy.
Pedophile.
Yeah, who he's like, oh, you're a master spy / engineer / of disguise. He disguises himself as like a piece of pudding at one point. Or something.
Oh, man,
like he makes the pudding jiggle and talk that way. Anyway,
I think that was just us not understanding Britishisms. I don't.
I think
not sure. I don't think a man
he
turns into
disguised
pudding.
himself as pudding and like made the pudding jiggle and like performed ventriloquism.
Dude,
which fooled Iffy.
Chris, did the weed that you smoke like have something extra in it? Because I don't remember this happening.
That 100% happened, Paris.
Oh my God.
Don't even tell me that didn't happen. That definitely fucking happened.
Okay, apparently there was ventriloquist pudding and I slept through it or something.
You did. Okay.
No, I could have.
Anyway, this guy can make all the grouse for Iffy, and like once Iffy puts him on contract, he does so, and then he goes around disguising himself as various side characters to appear in this, like Eddie, who's driving the taxi cab, which is originally there's only one taxi cab in town owned by a guy that was a descendant of a Spaniard that was like, he was like the progenitor of all people in that area.
Because when his Spanish ship crashed, he let the strong Scots women who killed the rest of his crew run a train on him, and they let him live as a result, which was also just a horrible like take on colonialism that I didn't even want to touch. Ugh.
He told them about where half of the treasure on his galleon was, and the other half he buried under Finn Didnan Hall, or it was built on top of that for a while. Anyway, this guy... The guy that is in the Eddie disguise, the pedophile next door or whatever, he turns out to be Iffy's brother in disguise,
Alfonso.
who was coming to to claim that treasure because he knew where it was buried after getting the information on where it was buried. So, but why does he bother to like help Iffy with this elaborate ploy when in the end he just pulls a gun on Iffy and says, "Here, you're gonna get burned alive in this taxi cab now. I'm going to dig up the treasure and be done with it."
Yeah, like, couldn't he have just walked into the kitchen, dug up the treasure, and left? Like, it's only Iffy and the butler in the house. He only has to avoid 2 people. He could have just done that instead of getting involved in all of this.
But he was waiting for Iffy to come over and ask him to make the grouse. Also, how are you disguised as a pedophile?
Well, you see, he keeps small boys from the town imprisoned in his home as servants and sex slaves, and it's very explicit about that. And I was like, "Ooh, damn, that's fucked." And that's like
So
that's
he
like the
actually,
first 5 pages.
so he is one.
Yeah, I assume,
regardless of the identity that he's in. But like that. But so how long was he waiting next door for Iffy to come over and be like, "Hey, make me 50 mechanical grouse"?
Oh well, I think the concept is that he probably killed the original like military pedophile guy that lived next door, right? And just assumed his identity. That's what I assumed, but it's not stated specifically
but
either way.
There's like no reason that you would lean towards that aside from he's just always been in that disguise.
Right. I'm just saying it makes somewhat more sense that way, but this book isn't supposed to make sense, right? Yeah. So the inclusion of Alfonso seems unnecessary. I don't understand why it was part of the story. Yeah.
I mean, you could have just ended the story with like everyone dying and Lord Iffy just throwing his hands up and be like, "Well, that didn't work."
Yeah, and that would have been funny and fine. And I mean, because there's plenty of things that happen, like the fuck machine gets loose basically and ends up just, I don't know, he puts some crazy batteries in it and it just ends up it ends up continually fucking because it ends up getting like pond water siphoned into its balls.
It doesn't. The computer programming of the fuck machine.
Horrible to talk about.
Paris. The programming of the fuck machine, the pelvotron.
The pelvotron,
actually,
correct? Yes,
is such that it will continue to fuck until it has come, and if there's nothing in the balls to come out, it will continue to fuck.
Correct.
Something happens. Cynthia is up at night and she needs the dick really bad, but she can't get it from her 15-inch penis husband because she doesn't like him for some reason.
And so she just eats instead of fucking? Was that like what I was supposed to understand?
So Butler had he made he had to make a huge dinner for the guests, so he made like a 40-pound turkey, but he finds Cynthia in with the turkey carcass around her head after she ate it from the inside, I guess, or something.
Yeah,
and then she's demanding that the butler have sex with her, but then he lets loose the pelvotron instead as a test scenario to truly test it out. But then it goes insane because he can't control it, and it carries her off continually being fucked. And then it lands in a river or swampy area.
Yep,
and it keeps having sex with her, or it pistons her off after it has swamp water pumped into the balls to make the cum happen. You see, what am I talking about?
Yeah,
Paris?
this is this poor woman gets tricked into having sex with a machine, and then gets pond water secreted into her by said machine, and she also is stuck inside of a giant turkey carcass.
And is assumed to be dead for the rest of the book.
Right. And there are other like hilarious and I would say hilarious with, air quotes there, and ridiculous deaths. Like some guy gets beaten to death with huge tits. There's like an improvised explosive. I guess that's not, I don't know. Wait, who gets ass fucked to death by a 15-inch dick?
Letitia.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
At the very end, the big boobed character and the big dicked character finally get together because it was inevitable, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I forget exactly what the mechanism is, but the way it read to me is that he put it all up her butt and then she died from it. Right?
No, yeah, it's like, it's an impossibly long penis that no one, I assume few, if any, people could accommodate, in an orifice, and so she dies because of it. And there's more womb fucking in this book. There's specifically womb fucking in this book. God damn it. Even in this, like, farcical, like, I can't escape it. It's not
nice.
Can't escape it.
But, like, the one thing I want to say is that Bruce specifically mentions is 15 inches a couple of times, but then it's also described as popping out of this guy's shirt collar or something.
And like flopping everywhere, like yarn, like just like waving in the wind. And yeah, you make a really good anatomical
That's
point.
A short torso, dude,
yeah.
Right? Like 15 inches isn't that big? Or is it like it's only 15 inches soft? Is that I don't
maybe.
think that's what...
I don't know. But it's absurd. I don't know. There's like some other minor points, like the butler. Also, because he's lost the turkey to Cynthia's ravenous lust to be filled either with food or dick. He decides that he's going to pretend that rabbit poop is vegetarian meatballs.
Because vegetarian food's shit. Don't you get it, Paris?
Yeah, which I also was like, I'm a vegetarian, so maybe I was a little sensitive. It was like, shut up. And I also, as a funny note, I have vegetarian meatballs in my freezer from IKEA right now, and I started to think like, oh no.
It's just rabbit shit. Turns out, Paris, they fucking got. Okay, you got you. Anyway, quick note: this scene just made me think of like some weird, fucked up version of steamed hams from The Simpsons, where Skinner is trying to present rabbit shit as meatballs to Superintendent Chalmers instead.
Vegetarian meatballs at this time of year? This part of the country? Yeah.
Grouse hunting at this time of year, at this time of day, localized entirely within the Scottish Highlands.
Yes. Yeah, so that whole thing, there's just a lot of like, specifically, let's see if we can gross you out. And it's like, okay, fine, it's gross, but I don't really care that much. What else? I'm trying to think of anything else that we may have missed, but I feel like we kind of hit on everything in this.
It's a pretty short book. Like I'm trying to like some of the other sex scenes, like the time when I guess the Alfonso, the brother in disguise, still pretended to be the disguise guy who was disguised as the 23rd Lord of the estate, who was like stuffed and taxidermied, but I guess he got in there.
Yeah, he got into his taxidermied skin.
Or whatever. And so Letitia is like begging the butler to do her over a balcony because, once again, hyper slut. So the disguised brother guy as the 23rd Lord is like, I'm up to the task. No, it's Iffy she's trying to get to do her. And Iffy is actually, he's a virgin, actually. He's like too nervous to ever actually do anything with women. So once the disguise guy comes out, he's like, I'll do it. Letitia's like, oh, cool. I thought you were dead. I guess that's fine. I'll try anything once.
Yeah. Some other just random notes that I had is Bruce refers to women a couple of times as torpedo shaped, and I was just like really confused by that. I was like, what torpedo shaped? I don't understand this.
That's some kind of like British insult. I don't even think it's a British insult. It rings a bell for me as referring to women as torpedoes or something.
See, I've never heard that, and I didn't understand. Yeah, I also wondered if it was just a British thing. Some British words that I didn't understand. There were more than this, but Pratt, rugger, semaphore. That's just a physical thing that I don't know. I just don't know.
That's
what
a flag. It's a flag.
A semaphore?
It's a flag. It's like flag code. You've never seen flag code?
Oh, I've heard of flag code, but I didn't know it was called semaphore. Okay.
Yeah, semaphore is a flag. Also, a Pratt is just an idiot.
Okay, well, I guess I'm an asshole here. I'm the idiot here. I have British friends too, and I didn't
listen. I'm
going to
be honest with you. It's really just Monty Python that I know all this stuff from.
No, I mean I've seen my fair share of Monty Python, but I'm not in a while, so I guess I didn't retain those British slang terms. So that kind of threw me throughout it. Yeah, there was like what was it? Oh yeah, there's a mention that there was this scene that happens where one of the women is doing their nails with super glue and she like glues her eyes shut, and I was like, dude, you don't use super glue on your nails. Like that's not how that works. He
doesn't seem to understand makeup of any kind, honestly.
No.
Like whenever he mentions makeup, there's like far too much of it, and or like
I mean, he
doesn't. It doesn't seem like he understands how women work at all. Period. But.
No, and also I have a note that says, "LOL." Of course, Iron Maiden is played in the taxi because the taxi driven by Eddie is of course blaring Iron Maiden. And I was like,
I had a specific note. Thanks for reminding me. I had a specific note about how it's referred to. The way it's phrased is saying the car was playing Iron Maiden music. Which, to me, you would just say it's playing Iron Maiden. Saying it's playing Iron Maiden music is like how your dad refers to you listening to Iron Maiden, but the guy who wrote this is in Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I also felt like that was weird. Like, how many people are actually picking up this book who aren't already into Iron Maiden? Like, this book only exists because it was written by Bruce Dickinson. Like, there's... And I just mean that to say that I highly doubt anyone else would have published this and anyone would have read this if this was just some random dude who wrote this.
He was apparently incredibly encouraged by Steve Harris to fucking publish it. So, like, fuck you, Steve. That was a bad idea.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We should read... I forgot to read the acknowledgments. So at the end of the summary, there's some acknowledgments, and it says, "This book was written in various hotel rooms across Europe during 1987. It was finished in Tokyo in May of that year. To all those hotel proprietors who kindly supplied reams of hotel stationery to the peculiar long-haired man at 4 a.m, thank you. To Patty, who thought it was funny and stayed for the sequel, thank you. Robert Smith thought it was okay, and that's why we are reading this. Merck, whose second name is too long to spell, did the dastardly deed. Rod and Andy looked on in bemusement, as usual. Sean Hudson's chest exploded in a geyser of blood and intestines. Steve Harris threatened torture if it wasn't published. To all of the above, and to all who suffered an ear bending in the creation of this book, a very big thank you." Yeah,
so,
fuck you, Steve
thanks,
Harris, I guess.
Iron Maiden's bass player, for, like, causing this to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. There, I had some other notes about... the only other thing I wanted to mention is just oh boy, another thing that makes me uncomfortable and feel like this is not good, even as a funny book, is one of the women. It's you know what, Bruce was visited on the Somewhere on Tour by the ghost of fucking. What's his name? Women Be Lying.
Oh yeah, there's Arthur Miller.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't remember who Arthur Miller was, but Arthur Miller fucking descended on Bruce, and he was like, "Hey, I know you're almost done with this book, but you know what? Women be lying. So you gotta put a passage in there about a woman lying about rape." And Bruce was like, "Oh wow!" I woke up and he was like, "I feel like I need to write a passage about a woman lying about rape now. Weird. I had a dream about Arthur Miller. Strange." Yeah, because that's in there too. There's some like I said, there's some screeds against Asian people in general. It's not specific. Generally, people of Arabic descent also a thing, like Middle Eastern, like screeds again. I don't know. All of that made me just die inside.
It's really just Iffy kind of like making some racial statements about things, which I think is supposed to be like, oh, he's an asshole, you're not supposed to like him. I don't think Bruce necessarily holds those opinions.
No, of course not, because the whole point of this book was to make fun of these kinds of people. But again, this is the question that we come back to, is like, is portraying something, is like representing something in a book approving it, right? Or however, I'm sorry, I always forget how that phrase goes, but and it's like, no, of course you have to show why something is, bad or evil or undesirable in a book, but I guess I just don't like the way that it was done, and I feel like it should have been more nuanced, even for a stupid kind of how do you say that, I don't know, even for something that's supposed to be silly and
it seems,
comedic.
by the way, that Bruce is kind of self-aware of like how dumb it all is, because like on the back of the book, on one of the like quote pull quotes is the biggest pile of shit ever written, Stephen Dalton, NME. So like he's not totally unaware, right? That this is pretty dumb on the whole.
But then it's like, why do it then? If it's not supposed to be particularly good or particularly funny or really do it, like, what is the point? That was my biggest issue is like,
it's just another thing to throw on top of the resume pile, I guess.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he was like, you know what? I don't have enough things on my list of greatness. Got to throw on author too. I just didn't feel like this was actually funny. And also it could just be that, like I said, it was written at a time when musicians and kind of media in general were trying to amp up the shock value. So I think this was also partially him trying to jump on that David Lynch, Marilyn Manson kind of train. Howard Stern, all those people, kind of like politically incorrect is, that's the honest, real truth, that kind of shit. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. It doesn't. It's all to me like a pointless plot that doesn't really exist, which I guess once again kind of points toward my idea of like this is kind of his attempt at writing erotica. Oh my god, this isn't erotica, Chris. I will die on this hill. This is the hill I will die on.
But like, why make a pointless plot that's just an excuse to put a bunch of people together to get them to fuck each other in funny ways if it's not supposed to be a little bit in that direction?
Chris, this was not written for people to jerk off to. All right, someone needs to ask Bruce Dickinson this.
Then why?
Does anyone have access to Bruce Dickinson? I need to know. I also need to know.
If you have no answer, I'm providing an answer.
No, I think he was trying to write something that was funny. He was trying to write a comedic book. And
yes, it's supposed to be funny and also to jerk off a little bit, I think.
Nope, dying on this hill.
Okay.
I'm going to use my semaphore signals to communicate to you on the other hill.
Please. You're just waving the semaphore flags of you fucking idiot.
All right. So I feel like that kind of brings us to the end of our discussion of this book. So, Greg, I hope that this was the discussion you hoped for, or at least sort of hoped for. Thanks for lending us the original copy of the book, because if we had to buy it, it would have cost us a lot of money, because I guess these are sort of valuable. I think the cheapest copy I saw was like $50 or something, which would have been very expensive for the Terrible Book Club budget. So we appreciate that. So thank you, of course.
I took good care of it. It's in good condition still.
Yeah, we'll have to return it to you. But thank you for your patronage, Greg, and also Dari, Will, Veronica, Dee, Jared, Lynn, and Sinna. All of you fund this show and make our reading of potentially terrible books possible each and every month. So thank you all very, very much for your support. Next episode, we'll also be doing a Patron's Choice episode. We got back-to-back hits of these patron episodes. So next time we'll be reading Sinna's choice of book. So we'll let you... Actually, fuck you. Yeah, we won't let you know what that is. I don't know. Follow us on Goodreads.
She gets to know beforehand.
Yeah,
so.
And also, like, Goodreads is the way to know, to get, like, a slight heads up on what we're reading, because I typically try to keep that updated. So if you want to know ahead of time, check out Goodreads. But in terms of patron stuff, we're only $7 away from our next goal. So if you want to help out, just head over to patreon.com/join/terrible book club, and you can become a patron or just throw us some dollars. If you become a patron of
$50, the number of our next goal.
Oh boy,
the hell and help me out, Paris. Come on.
What are you doing right now? Are you, Chris? Why do I always? I feel like every episode I think you're having a stroke. When you actually have a stroke or a brain hemorrhage, you're going to die, because I'm just going to think it's this happening again.
I'm trying to write a parody of Number of the Beast, but about our patron tiers, because I'm
gonna make a confession. I've always been more of a priest gal myself. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, they're both pretty good. I don't know
Iron Maiden as well.
So. Iron Maiden has unequivocally written more hits, I would say.
Yeah, but I don't give a shit.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway.
But I don't know, you can at least assist me in making some... actually, you know what I'm wondering now, Paris?
What, Chris?
Is Bruce Dickinson in charge of all the lyrics for Iron Maiden? Do you think he wrote some, like, horny-ass song? Like, there's versions of the songs, but with, like, porno lyrics instead? like penis is high
yeah,
instead,
I was just
or
gonna
something.
say like dicks filled high, or I don't know. Like, oh my god, I'm trying to think of
69, the number of the dick.
the number of the fuck. Oh no.
Swallowed be thy dick cock.
Oh god, I'm trying to think of other
Wasted cum. I don't.
somewhere,
Power Slut.
Somewhere in
Which
pen.
is already
Power Slut is already a band name.
yeah.
Oh wow, Power Slut is, oh wow. Now I just want to sit here and come up with sex puns for Iron Man. Anyway, I was in the middle of the closing. Now we've been derailed.
Seventh cum of a seventh son.
Or the seventh son of a seventh cum. Oh, I don't know which is
Yeah.
better. Oh god. Oh boy. I'm sorry everyone has to sit through that. Anyway, if you become a patron at the $5 or more tier, you can get a bunch of extra content of Chris and I watching movies. Like we do kind of mystery science theater style stuff. We're definitely going to do a Bruce Dickinson related film for the next one that we do. So if you want to get on board, I recommend doing it soon. If you're listening on iTunes or listening on some other platform, I beseech you to listen to us on the Radio Public app instead, because if you listen to us there instead, you help us generate passive income for the show. So every time you listen to the show on Radio Public, we get some cents. We also get extra bonuses if you listen to 3 episodes in a row. So yeah, Radio Public is, I think, the only app that actually pays podcasters, and it's my app of choice. Like, this is not an ad that they solicited me to do. I'm just asking you to help out the show and also giving you my opinion. I think their app is really great and I use it every day. So Radio Public, check it out. Lastly, we love when people say hi and interact with us. So you can reach us out to you.
Reach me out to
no,
to
you know what? Don't give me a reach around. How about let's not reach.
Yeah, you know what?
Let's not do any
I've
reaching.
had enough dirty talk.
Yeah, no. Find us on Twitter. Send us a message. At us on Twitter, but preferably not to call us out on shit unless it's like an actual thing we got wrong. I don't want to get into fights with anybody on Twitter. It's not what I'm asking for. Instagram, you can add us on there. You can check us out and follow us on Goodreads.
I'll fight you on Instagram of that on that platform.
No. I don't want to fight anyone. I really don't. We're not big enough internet celebrities to be fucking added about shit. So please don't. You can follow us on Goodreads. You can check us out on Facebook. You can also send us emails, like if you want to just have some very private correspondence with us, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to say some shit, leave a voicemail or something. We'll set up a Google Voice. Actually,
Amazon Book Club, our buddies in Brooklyn, Amazon Book Club did set up a call-in line, which I think is hilarious, but I already do enough shit for the show that I make no money off of, so I'm all set. But you can email us, terriblebookclub@gmail.com.
Do it in an email. You can just be just as angry over an email as you can with a voicemail.
And if you haven't done so, give us a review somewhere. That's all I ask. An honest review is cool. I like honest reviews.
Me too.
But thanks for suffering through that with us, because I certainly suffered reading it. I'm really excited that the next book that we're reading is nothing like this one. That's what I'm excited
really?
about.
I actually don't even remember what it was, so it'll be a bit of a surprise for me too. How about some what's good media that you've been into lately, Paris?
Well, I'm still reading the second Malazan book. I'm almost done with it. It's been a slow read because of Terrible Book Club stuff and other band shit going on. Let's see. What have I watched that's been good? Fucking American Gods is back. That series is great.
I didn't catch the whole first season. I kind of fell off it after a bit.
Dude, you gotta watch it, because I really, truly feel that the show is better than the book. I read the book a long time ago. Wow, really? Oh, yeah. I read the book a long time ago.
I felt the opposite after the first couple of episodes.
Oh, that's weird. I also, like I said, I read it long ago, so I may have forgotten, exactly what it was like, because I read it, I think, when I was 14, and I'm too old to say now. But I love the show, and the second season is out, so I've been watching that when I have time. Other good media... Fuck, I don't know. I'm sure I could come up with band stuff, but not on the spot right now. Nothing is really. I've honestly, I've been deep in the shit for mixing and mastering sessions for my band's upcoming EP, and that's kind of been taking up my time a lot, and doing all the like merch and layout design and shit and trying to title the goddamn thing. And Chris is also similarly enveloped by
we're
the
basically
shit. Doing the same thing. Yeah, weirdly.
At the finishing point at like almost the same time. So perhaps you'll have a nice little article about our EP releases that are coming out sometime soon-ish, a little bit. We'll see. We don't have exact dates or anything over here yet.
Yeah.
But I've just put the finishing touches on the audio portion of everything. Now I have to do all the other bullshit that comes with releasing some music. Good media for me lately. I'm playing Sekiro and I'm at the final encounter on that one, and it is absolutely demolishing me. So I had to put it down for a little bit because it was making me mad.
Yeah, you gotta step away. You gotta step away.
Yep. I had to put it down for a bit, and then I'm starting book 4 of The Expanse finally, which is called Cibola Burn. To me, I don't know what that title means, but I think I don't look. They have weird titles all the time. Cibola. And funny story about that word. The word in Polish for onion is cebula. So to me, it just looks like the book is called Burnt Onion. So
wow. Yeah,
we'll see if that comes up.
Maybe it's the name of like a constellation or a star or something.
Well, like the other books are like, Abaddon's Gate or Caliban's War, and there's no character named Caliban or Abaddon in these books or anything. There's a gate in the book about Abaddon's Gate, and there's a war in the book about Caliban's War, but I don't know who these possessors of these things are.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's just like a weird part of the title.
Well, that's like the Malazan books. No, they do eventually tell you what Gardens of the Moon is and what Deadhouse Gates are, but I am finding myself having to like constantly review my mental notes every time I pick up the book. I'm like, all right, what the fuck's happening right now? Like, it's just there's a lot going on.
Book. That's every Malazan book.
That's like every time I'm like, all right, I gotta, I read another 100 pages. I like angrily text Chris about something. I'm like, what the fuck why are the divers and the shit, whatever the fuck, the other things?
The diverse, actually, Paris.
Diverse and divers? See, fucking fantasy authors, get out of here with your apostrophe ass names. I'm so done with this fucking shit. Anyway.
And also half the time you'll say some shit and I'll be like, wait, what? When did that happen?
Yeah, I'll remind you about things because Chris has read these books ahead of me, and Chris is like, I don't remember that at all. And I'm like, this is an integral part of the plot. And you're like, nah, I got nothing.
The book you're reading right now, I just remember like the gnome historian dude or whatever. Like,
gnome?
Just
he's
kind of
not
like
a gnome. What are you talking about?
He's like short or some shit, isn't he? He's like
Has this character been a gnome the whole time?
I'm pretty sure he's like really extra short, so I thought of him as a gnome. Wait
a second.
Like I think
Wait a second. I got an internet historian.
Okay, like the Bargaths are orcs. The Talanimas are undead, right? They're just like skeletons.
Wait, Duker. Duker is a human male. All right.
All right. He's short though. I'm pretty sure he's really short.
Hang on. Trying to not read spoilers and find out the height of this character from this book.
Okay. Yeah. Don't bother.
It's so dumb. How tall is Duker, the historian?
Also, it's Duiker, Paris.
Is it Duiker, Duker, Duiker? Is it like, I don't know how to pronounce this shit. This is going in. I am typing, how tall is Duker, the imperial historian?
Fucking Steven Erickson, god damn it.
Fuck. What is his height?
You're gonna that's not how we're
Chris,
not gonna.
I think you invented his shortness. This is like a campaign against Duker, the imperial historian, much like the campaign against Napoleon Bonaparte, where people spread rumors about how he's short when he was actually tall for the time. Bullshit. Fucking propaganda. Propaganda from whatever the anti-Malazan contingent is, the Whirlwind. Propaganda from the Whirlwind. Okay.
Actually, I always dug the Whirlwind people the most in those books. That's like my favorite scenes.
They seem like the Dothraki. They seem pretty cool. But they do a whole lot of murder and raping though, which I can't.
Yeah, I mean, but so does
about.
Every side in that book, pretty much.
That's
also,
fair.
my favorite. Wait until you get to book 4, where you meet Karsa. He's one of my favorite characters.
What the fuck is? Oh God, I don't even want to. Anyway, I do recommend you read the Malazan books.
The spider spray too. Also read The Expanse. It's rad. Even I guess this one's about a burnt onion. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope not. Anyway, we just ranted for like 15 minutes about shit that wasn't related to this episode. So sorry, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, Paris.
Goodbye.